Hello, everyone. Welcome to our first ever LinkedIn Live series. My name is Ben Conway. I'm the co-founder and COO of VNTANA. We're a 3D infrastructure platform that allows brands to add 3D capabilities across every step of the product lifecycle, from design and collaboration early on all the way to go to market. And we're powered by patented optimization algorithms that can reduce 3D file sizes by up to 99%. And with me today, I have a guest that I'm very excited about, and the only person that I wanted to join me on this first LinkedIn Live series. You may know him from his his posts on LinkedIn, some of his more controversial posts on LinkedIn about the state of various Metaverse, Web3, digital fashion technologies. He's always got a hot take. I've got Yuri Antov. So I'll do a brief intro on Yuri and his background and why he's qualified to be making the statements that he's making. So Yuri started with Boeing, then moved on to Airbus and Dassault Systems, a long background in 3D. From there, he moved on to working at PVH, where he was actually the lead architect of their 3D design and development process, and then moved on to Stitch, who you might be familiar with, where he was the head of technology and then head of product. Recently, Yuri has gone solo and is consulting with fashion brands on helping them accelerate their digital transformation and especially their use of 3D. And he's going by the name Geekbeard there. So Yuri, welcome to the first LinkedIn Live with us.
Thanks, Ben. Amazing introduction. I even learned something. So it's pretty nice being here. I'm super excited. And yeah, I'm also very happy that quite a lot of people, I guess, joining. And definitely shout out to everybody who is now watching. And let's dive into this. I really wonder what do we have on the menu. By the way, just maybe a small note for the audience. Nothing is pre-scripted. No one is reading from the screen.
Correct.
We are supposed to have an open conversation, right, Ben?
Yeah. Yes, that's exactly right. So yeah, we're going to keep it really loose today in the format. If you've got some questions, put them in there. I don't know that we're going to answer them, but we might bring it up if it's an interesting topic. So I'll start out with a softball. What's the most exciting thing you're seeing in digital fashion right now? What are you really excited about that you're seeing from a technology perspective?
Yeah, super good question. I have two answers actually, because like I have two types of excitement. One excitement is purely like like the kids excitement, like, oh my god, oh, the ice cream truck, there's something shiny like that. So I have that type of excitement where
There's a lot
you
of that
just
excitement right now.
yeah,
A
but so
lot of that.
I have that too. I actually have that too.
Okay.
Even if my LinkedIn posts don't say this, I have those things.
Okay.
And another excitement is a bit more practical, like, oh, ice cream truck, but actually I have to do something really practical and see something really valuable. So the two answers I would give to this is that I'll start with the practical one. And I'm a little biased here, but from the beginning of this year, when I went solo, I got to work more with a friend, ex-colleague, Dominic, and we started looking into the other side of fashion, where the manufacturing side. And I got really actually excited to see how many potential and how many actually inefficiencies there are on the side of production of anything in fashion. And it really kind of opened up my eyes, and it made me really excited to connect with other people who are like-minded in a way. And thanks again to Dominic and a couple of other people, I got exposed to this world, and that is something that excites me from the practical standpoint. Like, what can the technology do for manufacturing today?
So
Sorry,
what
you
you're
were saying.
saying, so I was saying you're not excited about, so what's the actual, like, maybe technology that people would understand? So you're excited about the opportunity of how this
Okay,
stuff can be applied to manufacturing, but what's the technology that's driving it
fair
that's
enough.
exciting for you?
Fair enough. We can even say, okay, then I'll throw in, there could be multiple actually technologies, but we can actually take even the 3D design, that what brands are creating their collections in 3D. Like, for now, I think we're not yet, well, not to think, it's pretty true. We don't yet use it to full potential towards our vendors. I think there's way more to be done and way more to achieve on that side. And getting a little closer to this world, it's obvious that the technologies like 3D do not only touch your product development within a brand, which includes, of course, communication with your vendors, but also on the production side, certain business models can change thanks to the 3D design and opportunity of creating garments digitally. So there is a lot that can be done there, and I'm actually practically excited for it. So if that answers the practical one, I'll quickly
Well,
throw in. Sorry.
yeah, I got a quick question for that on there. So, like on the manufacturing side, because I think this is probably a question, because a lot of when brands are looking at 3D right now, sometimes you'll talk to people and they're like, "We're just doing 3D for looks." Like they're straight up doing it to get something that they can generate a render that will help them with selling or help them get a better idea earlier on in the process. How many brands are you seeing are actually able to generate tech packs of a sufficient quality that manufacturers are able to like, they're fully digital end to end. They're like, cool, I created this in vStitcher or Clo. It's gotten approved. Then it's gone all the way to the manufacturer. Look at this. It fits perfectly. How much of that
You're
are we seeing?
you are like right on the dot, like seriously, like this is really one of the amazing opportunities which I personally, and I'm open to be corrected, and if anybody knows more, please reach out. I actually, because the subject is so interesting to me and my colleagues, we would really love to know, but I have not seen this in such a state where 3D goes to manufacturing one-on-one, like basically tech pack is out and it's amazing and it's all full, and at the, in the, at the, on the floor at the factory they're like, oh yeah, it's all clear, no questions asked. That I have not yet seen, but yeah, very very open for hearing about some cases where this actually works.
Do you think we're gonna? How long before you think we're gonna see that?
I think that actually depends on the focus and all the money flowing around and all the effort that's been put into different topics these days. But in my personal experience with any problem, everything can be solved. It's just like, sweat, time, effort, probably some money here and there, sprinkle it around a little
All
bit.
right, that makes sense. But give me a date. Everyone on
Yeah.
the line saying, when are we gonna start seeing that? Are we gonna see it at the end of 2023? Is it gonna be 2024, 2025? We've got a
Okay.
10-year horizon for the metaverse, right? We got a 10 year.
Okay.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
when are we
True.
just gonna actually use vStitcher and Clo to its full potential, or
Well,
OptiTexture
since
style
since
3D,
since
whatever
since
you're doing?
I'm per se not a brand, right? So I cannot really tell you that I can change my brand by the end of 2022, and you will see first example. But definitely there are people and companies working in that direction. So I would expect that, I would say within the 2023, we should definitely see first results of this world improving, because there
Okay.
are more solutions coming up as I see, more brains joining the game. So I think we will start seeing in 2023 some of that pipeline of from 3D to manufacturing in most efficient way. We will see improvement there.
Okay. Now let's jump to the ice cream. The ice
Ah,
cream
ice
truck.
cream.
The shiny.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. This makes this excitement for me very personal. It makes maybe no sense right now for fashion, but I think there will be an overlap at some point, and it will challenge our perspective. It's actually no, it's not Web3. It's not Metaverse. It's actually the AI art. All these DALI, diffusion models, everything that Mid Journey, all of these things that came up right now, and you see on LinkedIn people posting like, even garments created by like Mid Journey, for example. And for those who maybe don't know that, to be honest, just Google Mid Journey, see what's happening. Pretty exciting. For now, people treat it more as entertainment. But what's interesting about it is that it challenges our perspective on the design process, right? And I'm not the person who should ever judge or challenge the brain and creativity of a real world, real life designer, right? But there is like a new player entering the game, the AI, the machine learning models, which were created, compiled from millions of pictures, which can now generate you a certain idea. um, I do not know, and I do not have in my head a straightforward like business case or something. And some people say, "Oh yeah, but that's clear. Like AI will generate a garment, and we will do it, and it will be sold." For now, it's, I think, can sell only because it's kind of a cool thing. But will it ever become like a mass production? Will there ever be an AI-driven fashion brand?
Yeah. Well,
That's
I can promise you that someone will claim they are an AI driven fashion brand within the
yeah.
next six
That's
months.
you don't have to
I,
promise. That's already happening.
I've
These
already
things
seen
I
the
actually
first
saw.
vodka in the metaverse. So yeah, it's I think that it will be happening. I think my thought what'll be interesting is kind of like to see, does it expedite the process? Is there a thought process with maybe gathering up ideas that AI wouldn't have thought to put together? So you've got these various creative inputs that then help you iterate, and then you can kind of go from there. Seems like it's pretty accessible to do some of that stuff for someone who's a little bit
Yeah,
savvy. No?
yeah, indeed. Like for with Mid Journey, for example, I believe it's accessible to a very wide group of people. What I saw a couple of times, I would love to attribute it to the person who wrote it, but unfortunately I don't remember the name. Someone said that AI today, like there are different AIs, they are also writing AI. There AI which can write you a text, like a piece of, like a paragraph of a novel. I mean, maybe it will not make all the sense in the world, but it gives it a bit of a spin. And people said like, oh, there are AIs which help with a writer's block. Like when a person is like, yeah, I'm thinking I need like a twist or a spin, and I'm stuck. And that may be something that can help. And I don't know if that problem exists. I'm not a designer. Real designers and fashion brands should correct me or let me know. I would love to learn more about it. But maybe in some design processes there is a hard time to come up with a new idea, maybe, right?
Yeah.
Or go some wild direction outside of the box. Maybe that would be a use case. But that's why it excites me, because I think the technology is powerful, very powerful.
Yeah.
What we will find as a use case for it, I'm taking a step back, just like getting my popcorn and just observing like what's going on, where will it go. But I'm
And
excited about it.
that seems to be your take on a lot of stuff, I think, which I think is refreshing, is that it's not that Web3 solving world hunger. It's that there's powerful concepts that are here. There are powerful technologies. The application of them is yet to be determined, and we're not
Indeed,
totally
yeah.
sure what direction that's going to go. And I think that's really true of everything. I think anyone who's talking to you right now who says they've got it all figured out end to end is probably not telling you the truth, or certainly not the whole story there. So I think it's important to keep in mind throughout this discussion because it comes up a lot.
Absolutely, yeah.
So
Agree.
let's go to another fun topic. If you had $1 million to invest in a company that's not Geekbeard and not VNTANA, where are you putting that in fashion tech right now?
Well, first I'll have to go through the list of friends and family who I can still invest in. But okay,
All right.
let's assume we're not doing that. Um, I will not. I will probably link it back to my first excitement. I'm. I was observing, and again through conversations and some not per se research, but what pops up and things I get to know, that there are smaller brands coming up on the market which challenge the big brands' business models. And I know most of them, of course, from Amsterdam. And if you look at them, definitely shout out to those to the brands like New Optimist, Charlie and Mary, and please everybody Google, look at them. They even say like I think if you go to the Charlie and Mary website, they in their story they say the world doesn't need more fashion brands, but why did we create ours? So these are the smaller brands which try to rethink and try to optimize the manufacturing side, the supply side, the like produce locally. So they
So
try to challenge this paradigm, or maybe coexist. So
are
I would give them 1 million. Sorry, just I will give 1 million to one of them. I cannot say to which. Maybe not
like
even one of these two. Maybe somebody else. But I would go in that direction.
maybe we can get you to host a pitch competition in Amsterdam. All we got to do is figure out the $1 million part of it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't have one. I mean, well, you're
uh,
VNTANA. You maybe have one.
no. So yeah, maybe one year we'll be sponsoring that. So, but diving deeper into that, are the brands building tech themselves, or are they using tech as an underlying platform to build a brand and have an outsized competitive advantage, or are they leveraging existing technologies together to create something new?
Yes, the second, I believe. I'm not per se 100% sure if they're not like creating something small application here and there, but from what I like about those stories is that people don't jump on a certain technology just because it exists. They actually take a couple of steps back and they think like, okay, well, fashion business, fashion brand, fashion culture, everything. Like, how do we do it today? What are the problems? How can we, from from the first steps, rebuild it or have a smaller scale and try to avoid the problems we have today, the waste, the overproduction, well, which is a waste essentially, the logistical cost, all the impact on the environment. And they tried, it is a small scale. It's of course not comparable for any massive established brands, but I think talking to them or learning from them, there is a lot that other bigger brands can maybe adopt and can actually, that might lead to some changes.
Okay. So I don't think it would be it wouldn't be a webcast in webcast even, that's like a super old word. It wouldn't
Yeah.
be a,
We are. It's
a
fine.
live stream.
We are Web one here, Ben.
Or,
We are Web one. We're
yeah, we're web one. Yeah, from coming from the web 2 platform of LinkedIn. Um, it wouldn't be a 2022 live stream if we didn't bring up the metaverse. So my question for you on this is, how much good or bad has the resurgence of the term, and I have to say resurgence because if I don't say resurgence, everyone's going to be like, metaverse has been talked about since 1985 and not whatever.
indeed.
The how much good or bad do you think it's actually done towards furthering actual adoption of real technologies that can make an impact in fashion right now?
I think it's not about good and bad. I think it's more like the focus. And I need to I need to host a TED talk, I think, on this, because sometimes I talk to myself about that subject and I get very excited about it. But my point is that um, I think that fashion, generally speaking, and I don't want to offend anybody, it's coming from the good heart. It's a very vain industry, right? And generally fashion, like if we think of it like catwalks and everything, and the identity through your visual representation, the quality, like you want to buy good things, wonderful thing, well, good looking things, etc., shiny things. So fashion has this, like fashion is prone to run after a next shiny thing before finishing something that they've started. And with metaverse, I don't like, we can also talk for hours trying to define what is the metaverse, and I'll be arguing and everybody will be arguing, and but that's not my point. My point is like, it's fine, there's some new ideas, new concepts being in play, people are like experimenting, doing something wonderful. But I see that sometimes brands and fashion, they see this shiny thing again and they're like, let's run. And metaverse is very much linked today to the 3D, right? Like in most cases, like the 3D, we're not done with 3D yet. We have not yet
That's
finished and solved anything there. And to me, the analogy, I've been talking a couple of days ago with Hugh Clark, a great guy, by the way. Shout out, Hugh, if you are listening. And I gave him this metaphor saying that to me, it's like, adoption of 3D, it's like a group of people decided to build a house, and they started building a house. They laid out foundations, started on the walls, like etc. So like a lot of work, it's serious work, but at some point they got very tired and like, oh, it's difficult. Yeah, it is difficult. I mean, and one of them is like, hey guys, but I know that actually houses goes really well with a pool, and pool is fun. So they're like, oh, let's build a pool. And they dig the pool, they made the pool, and it's an amazing pool. It has like a water slides, the surfing wave. I mean, amazing. And everybody's in the pool. But the house is still like half built. So to me, this is it. Like, pool is the metaverse. It's amazing. It's great. And something amazing will come up in coming like years. I don't know when. But we still need to do right by fashion and by 3D and by all the digitization in fashion, so that these are all connected. You want the pool and the house together.
yeah, yeah.
I'm a little bit more team house. I love the pool. I'll be in that pool with my floaty, with like, I mean, I'll be having fun. But I want to finish the house also. I want to be like putting
Yeah,
the roof and actually high speed internet and everything there.
I think that's super accurate. I actually just my conversation right before this was with our head of engineering, and he was asking me like, "What are you seeing right now with the customer base?" Because COVID hit, people who were already going digital were like, "Great, we made the right decision. We got to accelerate this. We got to go faster." And now we're kind of entering this new phase of things where people are reopening retail shops. Like there's all like it's going. Some things are going back to more how they used to be, and I think there's a major concern of like is everyone just going to stop because it's hard to build a house? Is everyone going to stop building houses? Is that what we're going to run into? Like, how much damage is this going to do to the progress that's been made so far?
It's hard. I mean, again, yeah, it's not that I myself like worry for this, but when I talk to people and to fashion brands and everybody, and I see the excitement about the metaverse, and I want to acknowledge it. I'm not trying to say, oh, metaverse is stupid, kids should play outside and we should not have virtual worlds. That's not my point. Absolutely, we're gonna get to something awesome through years, but I won't bring the focus back. Like, let's like, we don't have endless resources, we don't have endless money as fashion brands. So
Yeah.
let's figure out how do we do our experimentations with metaverse and what not. But also our current operations are struggling, and specifically like COVID, the horrible war we have, the whole world, like the world is a little bit on fire in general, and it affects the fashion brands. We have the tools, we have the ability to maybe reinvent ourselves a little bit and focus on that. But yeah, so it's the
Yeah.
focus and effort.
I think it's focus, effort, and education, because it's almost like sometimes
That is true.
my experience is like people are viewing a lot of these things as like they're mutually exclusive, which is not actually the case at all. It's uh, a strong 3D foundation will accelerate everything else you want to do in metaverse. Or let's
Exactly.
be real right now. Let's talk about gaming, because I think that's really it. I mean, it's like, should we just be? What do you think the attendance would be if I just said, "Hey, here we're going to do the next LinkedIn Live is just going to be on fashion and gaming," because it's we've taken Roblox, we've taken Fortnite, we've taken whatever, which is really where everyone's at if we're talking about it. I mean, what is it? Decentraland has like 998 daily active users or monthly active users, something crazy like that. And not to knock, again, it's not knocking them, but it's like, all right, what's meaningful for a brand? Not that. So, what do you think is going to happen with gaming and fashion?
For that topic, I need a sip of water.
Okay.
Because I'm not trying to compliment myself, if it's a compliment actually. Not trying to like build my street cred here, but generally I'm a gamer from like early age till today. After this call, I'll eat some food and I'll start playing games. So when I see, and so my point, well, with gaming and fashion, there were many attempts, by the way, a lot, and many years ago. Prada going into Final Fantasy franchise, Louis Vuitton also playing with Final Fantasy virtual models.
There was some stuff
Uh,
with Grand Theft Auto.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. But kind of carefully. Nothing was like too much, and nothing was per se breaking into the gaming business models. This year, well, not per se this year. I should be very careful naming dates because someone will say that it's been before. But
Whatever. Yeah.
lately, fashion goes into gaming with a lot of bold statements, and it's of course built on top of the notion of the Web3, again, metaverse, everything kind of mixed in together. What I'm a little bit concerned there as a gamer is the gaming industry existed without a massive presence. Fashion, totally fine. It has its own business model. It works perfectly fine. Games are being developed for the storylines, for entertainment, for casual entertainment, and it's fine. It did not miss fashion. But fashion has a perspective that we have arrived. Welcome us. And this is where it goes a little bit against the grain with people like me, and maybe I'm not supported by many, maybe I'm the unique here opposer of this attitude. But in a way, I think, okay, wait a sec, we are fine, we get that we can mix the business models, but can we do it slightly more carefully?
Yeah.
All the ideas of this pay to earn things that coming from Web3 a little bit, they're a little bit too drastic, and they go like head first into the gaming industry. So again, as you already mentioned before, with this type of developments, I don't know what's going to happen. I think the certain merge will develop. Yeah, we probably will be able to dress in certain brands, but it will feel like how to do it in gaming right to not look like a cringy product placement,
Right.
because like games have their own stories. Not every game needs
Right.
brands in it. So
I,
I think something will come close, but I just encourage and I hope that lots of people will take careful steps, not trying to break the one or another industry, because they should exist without each other perfectly. And if they overlap somewhere, it's a very calculated choices.
I think that's a super important point to make because I don't know that many of the people making decisions or looking at this, they look and they see user base, they look and they see massive growth in these segments, and that's what's attractive to them without actually understanding like who are the people that are gaming. I think that if you looked at a lot of people that are like into, so it's been written on before, but something that kind of struck me that most people aren't aware of is that when we start getting into Web3 and crypto and blockchain and all of that, a lot of the people who don't like it are gamers. It feels like they're encroaching on something they've loved that is now really started to become so much more mainstream. And there's leagues and there's the ability for competition. And then there's also just better storytelling, better graphics, better immersion in what they love than ever before. And now there are these outside forces that are trying to, rather than grow the whole pie, it feels more like they're going to try and erode at something they like rather than helping make what they love better, I would say.
Yeah, yeah. I think yeah, that's a good observation. And what I observed also, like you said like you don't per se like see the or talk to the decision makers in the space. Uh, Neither did I. Well, I was around a couple of people before and maybe heard things, and the drive behind fashion to enter gaming mainly, to my personal understanding, and again, I would love to be corrected and educated on this, but to my personal understanding, it was it came first from the pretty much business development. Like that's a new channel, and I guarantee that I guess 90% of people now watching this, and I guess you, Ben, too, once through past years, we've sat through the presentation where there was a slide where it said, look at Fortnite. It generated something billions in selling of the skins. If only
I,
those skins were our products.
I'm sure I've probably even presented that slide myself at some point
I
throughout
actually,
the
I actually
product of
did. I
Ventana.
actually did.
I think I think we've all been there. I think
We've
it's
all done
exciting,
that.
but yeah, we all might be guilty of doing some of
But
that.
that
Okay,
is, but that is, but that is just to finish this. That thinking, like, oh, Fortnite sells skins. Skin can be the style. Style will be sold. We get royalty. We get rich. That's a very, I'm very sorry, and I again respect everyone's effort in this area, but I personally think it's a little bit of a shallow take on how these two industries can come together.
yeah, I think what Roblox is doing with user generated content is super interesting, and there's a huge
Yes,
focus for them. And I think there could be some interesting things there, almost like influencer generate. It's like brand collaboration with an influencer that's like understands the space, understands the audience. That seems like an
exactly,
opportunity to me.
exactly. That's an
Yeah.
interesting one.
Um, okay, let's get into some more. We talked about dispelling the myths of 3D fashion. So
Totally.
we talked a little bit about kind of where we are in the adoption curve of 3D fashion. Uh, I want to talk a little bit about where are we on virtual try-on, because it's probably 6 times a week that I get a question about virtual try-on. Maybe it's footwear, maybe it's apparel, and like let's get into where are we at? What are the blockers for it? Because like just to cut to the chase, we're not there.
Yeah.
we're not that close to being there. And there's a lot of questions that need to be answered about it. But what do you what are your thoughts there?
It's first of all, funny you mentioned that. Like you are quite often being asked about like whatever, I guess, collaborations or partnerships. I don't know from your
Yeah,
standpoint on virtual try-on, because at the early days of virtual try-ons there were like not a lot of solutions, and that was an exciting thing to look at. And I had my doubts, I had my questions, but also some excitements. But then it exploded, literally exploded. Last year when I was on the Web Summit, fun conference, but mostly spend good time with people I know. but I had so many people writing me through this Web Summit. Web Summit is a conference in Portugal. I hope if someone doesn't know, it's like a tech conference, one of the biggest, well, biggest in Europe. I think it also claims in the world, but whatever. But so many people were writing to me in this internal app, can we demo you our virtual try-on solution? At some point, I became actually intimidated already by that technology because I thought like, wait, there's so much diversity on these solutions that maybe I'm already don't know something. Maybe I'm missing something. But I can only now say some things that I bring from my previous experience from early days where we were actually looking into and trying to work with some companies and we're discussing some really difficult points of virtual try-on. And these are things like the soft body, right? Like no, sorry, soft body. Like let's maybe park this one. More like what do you do? What do you use virtual try-on for? For me personally, I don't think sizing will ever be the case. It's definitely just the looks, but I'm a little bit. I think it really depends on the product. Maybe the shoes, the sneakers, you can see more or less like, okay, this looks good on me. But when we talk about certain fashion items, again, I see that a lot of effort and a lot of great brain power is poured into it. But I think there will always be a little bit of a challenge between the brands trying to really care for how their items are presented and look on a person. That's why they
Yeah.
do these photo shoots and they really meticulously try to figure out how to communicate the the emotion essentially of the item, how to really
Right.
sell it to the customer, how to make customer believe that you will be a different person in this item. And when virtual try-on app comes, then the stakes are really high. You
Yeah.
really need to nail it. And I know that some apps and some solutions today are really doing great job, but it's like this kind of this chase. I don't know when we will reach
Well,
the quality with it that will really like resonate
I
with the
I think
real
your
life feeling.
I think your point of end use case is super critical. Like, is it for fun? Is it for higher engagement levels? Because you've tracked that when your product has higher engagement levels, you've got an understanding consumer and they're going to buy it. And that's part of it. Because there are brands that align with that. There are other brands where it's like fit is app. I mean, fit's important for everyone, but fit is super important with
Yeah.
specific brands. And so that could be a problem. Is it going to be the true to size thing? I think to your point, there's a lot of problems to solve there. Is it going to be devices? Because that's the other thing. I've talked to people talking virtual try on that are like, come to our dressing room once in an actual retail store, strip down to your skivvies. We're going to scan the body, and then you'll have that avatar, and then we'll be able to dress it as that avatar. And I think that
Yeah.
I think there's a few problems here. Like, number one, most of the physics data for these fabrics isn't ever coming out of Clo and Browswear. Like, these things live, or I say Clo and Browswear, I should be Style 3D, Optitex, wherever you're designing. Um, the physics isn't coming out of the 3D programs, so you're just left with a mesh. And then you've got the mesh deformation, and you're trying to get some more information about that. And we're working with a number of clients that are looking at trying to get some more of that information. And the mesh deformation is based on simulations they've run over thousands of meshes to try and get it right. But like, the reality is, it's just kind of in the same way that you scale an image by
Yeah,
pulling
yeah.
the corner,
Just
it's
stretch
scaling it.
kind of,
It just
yeah.
stretches it. There isn't really like, and there isn't a, that I've seen, there isn't a good answer to that problem that's using the real inputs that brands are putting into there. So to your point, I don't see a future for like accurate virtual try on other than in entertainment purposes for quite some time in fashion.
Yeah, unless there are two things you mentioned I really liked, and I would like to just add a little bit to this. So the hardware, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, going to the retail store, getting scanned, but also there are a lot of applications offering you the virtual try-on via the iPhone, or any mobile essentially, which is cool thing. But that's when you hit the tech limitations of the
Yeah.
hardware limitations. So unless maybe hardware makes a leap, and suddenly actually you would be able to really like simulate the mess, re-simulate the
Yeah.
mesh. But there's a lot of things will have to come together, a lot.
There's so much that has to come together because we're putting light meshes into there. This is maybe we can veer away, but you're putting optimized meshes into these programs
Yeah,
because
so
you've got a
the
bandwidth
topology
constraint,
is
which is separate from
different.
all of
Yeah,
this. You've got a totally so to bring in a high fidelity, a really, really like the original mesh that can be deformed now. You're going to be loading a larger file, problem for mobile. It's like there's so many different barriers. So I just think it's
yeah,
important.
yeah. But
I just think go ahead.
sorry. No. You finish your thought. That happens with me.
I was saying I think it's really important for people to understand the state of where we're at because when the question's presented to me, it's presented as are you doing virtual try on, as if like there's a bunch of options for them to choose from that are going to be exactly what they want. And I think there are some good things that are happening, especially with I think we'll get there in a better way. And I still don't know how accurate it's actually going to be from the fit perspective, but like maybe overlaying a 2D image, matching the lighting of a photograph. And so now it looks like you're wearing it and you're seeing some of that stuff. I still don't think it's really
Yeah.
there, but
There were
yeah.
some very cool solutions with actually the virtual try-on with it escapes me the name of the company. I'll uh, I'll say two names. No, I'm not gonna say because I might mistakenly advertise someone who maybe is not doing it. But I saw examples for virtual try-on. Uh, I believe it was virtual try. Anyway, the close to body, like the underwear and things like this, where essentially in most cases of those products you don't per se need the fabric simulation if it's really close to body, stretchy, like I don't know, like kind of a
Right.
spandex thing or
Yeah.
something. Then there's technology that can actually plot it on your body and it will look very realistic. Those are pretty cool. Those I think can actually help with even model shoots if needed. You can put the products on the models without asking models to try them, etc., etc. So those are interesting one. The final comment I want to give on the virtual try-on is something that you said as a use case is like maybe the current state of virtual try-on is really good for fun, as you said, for the customer engagement, to create these type of yeah, like experiences or cool things or projects like one-off capsule introductions or something, like to not per se say here now rely on this app to make your final product choices and make the purchase, but rather than weave it into a marketing event
Right.
of
Right.
engaging with the customers. That I think actually is pretty good technology for that.
Yeah, I think that's where Snap's betting. I think that's where Meta's betting. I think that's where a lot of the people with really smart engineers, as your host pointed out the other day regarding Zuckerberg's avatar photo, pointed out there are some
True.
super, super smart people that are working at these companies,
Absolutely.
regardless of what you think about the companies themselves. Uh, so let's talk about like 3D, like scaling 3D fashion, and not just like not PI apparel scaling 3D fashion, but like what are like, and not just, I want to talk about the biggest barriers, but like, what do you think the true like problems are right now from a, like, why aren't we seeing more of this stuff delivered? Like, what are give me your top three biggest issues, and I'll give you my top three biggest issues that we're seeing in digital fashion right now. I'll say 3D fashion.
I'll just give you one actually. And I think people, it's back to the house and pool analogy and all of this. People, in many cases at fashion brands, do not acknowledge and do not do any type of self reflection of how hard this change is, how hard adoption of 3D is. And I wrote about some posts there and the comments a couple of times that it is really, really hard. And if any designers here on the call who moved from 2D to 3D are listening to this, my heart goes to you guys, girls, anybody, because it is a very strong transition, very hard and very steep transition going from our traditional way of designing through sketches and everything to now embarking onto this new technology which demands time, skill, and then at the same time your leadership and everybody around you have to also acknowledge that certain things will be done differently now, certain things will take more time. So what I mostly notice is that people take this transition lightly. They think it's enough to go and sign up a contract with a software provider, one of the 3D tools, get a basic training, get the people educated, and probably we're good to go. Oh yeah, wait, fabrics. Yeah. Okay, we'll get another software. Oh yeah, okay, fabrics. But why don't they look good? Huh. Okay. We will. I don't know. Pay for something else. Oh, vendors. Yeah, we need to get vendors on board, and it just starts expanding. So I think people
Yeah,
all
they're
because
unrealistic in their expectations.
or they thought it will go faster, or they thought it would be easier. But my message to everybody, like even if anybody, like any client I work with today and any future client, if you invite Yuri to work, Yuri not gonna tell you that, oh, easy peasy, let's do it. My message to you gonna, you will struggle, you will suffer, you will
This
spend
sounds like
money.
this sounds like you're a personal trainer.
Yeah, in a little bit maybe, but like this will be hard, and only if as a brand, as a company, you actually acknowledge it, and you acknowledge that you need leadership on board, you need time, you need to really think and plan, then gradually and slowly you might identify step by step problems, gaps, and start solving them. If you're going into 3D saying like, oh, I got the licenses, I hired two 3D
Yeah,
designers, they're gonna do it, you are up
there's a
for a
check the
ride.
box attitude. Yeah, check the box attitude of we've got the programs, we've got the see I did what I was supposed to do for it. Well, I'll give you mine. I think that one of the biggest things that we encounter, because we're usually last mile of like trying to get someone's designed the product, it's been
Absolutely.
approved, now I want to go use it somewhere. The complete lack of understanding and education out there about the difference between real-time 3D and renders, and it is very, very different. So like all of the applications that we're talking about for the most part are real-time 3D. The beautiful images you have are renders, although you could use tools like Unity or Unreal to use a real-time engine to generate the renders. And that like fundamental lack of understanding from a use case perspective, this probably is an adoption, but like I think that if they had more end use cases, you'd get more buy-in from leadership of like, wow, look at all this great stuff, look at how much 3D is helping us sell.
Yeah.
Of course we need to invest more into there. And so I think if we could educate people more on, what's the difference between these two technologies? What are the results we can expect today? Where should we be investing if we want to see things improve? And back to your question on the material side of thing is one of the biggest blockers. I talk about it all the time. Like if you don't do a good job of digitizing your materials early on and don't have a process for being able to edit those, you're going to create a bunch of beautiful renders and you're like, we're ready to take the next step. And they're like, great, go rework your entire material library because none of these are set up to be used in any of the other applications that you want to use them in. So those, I guess, weren't three, but two that come up daily
you
for
know
us.
when you talk about materials, people who know me and who I worked with around materials and the problems around materials, and the end result, like the end, like whether it's a render or live 3D, they know I use the phrase. I'm not going to use it live because it has a little bit of a like a maybe not the best word, but I'll correct it a little bit for the sake of this live stream. I say bad things in, bad things out. So
Yeah,
people sometimes also underestimate, as to your point, of course, absolutely, the importance of materials, the quality of the scans. If you found a solution that does scans through, I don't know, some strange technology, and they say it's fast, it's quick, whatever, it's cheap, you'll get all library in a week of your 1,000 materials, it's not a win. Don't be too happy about it yet, because you really need to establish your quality standards. It's very important to see like what is the, like, you can scan a material, and materials are very different, wildly different, and some of the people like 3D designers we worked with, and I know when they go creative, I mean, they can use plethora of different types of materials. So to scan them right and have a quality that will then generate a good render, which can stand to the challenge of even e-com maybe. which can then be material also can be set up in such a way that it will go into your Unreal or Unity or whatever.
Right.
That's just material. We're not even talking yet the design. It's just the
Right.
material. And I
Right.
also think people sometimes think very lightly. They get a solution, it kind of works, then they see end results a little worse, and they're like, yeah, well, this 3D software we're using is not doing good. But I'm like, okay, let's go back to the chain. What, maybe it's actually at your first step of digitization of your material where things don't go right.
I think that's a really important point. And I think we had scheduled 30 minutes. We're at about 45 minutes right now, but I think it's been a great conversation. And I think to sum up, if we were talking
Likewise.
about dispelling the myths, one of the biggest myths is it's fast. It's going to be cheap, or it's going to be faster. It's going to be easy. It's the same as with any other industry. If you think you're getting any of those things, off the bat today, you're probably not. You're probably not. It's very complex. And if someone presents it as completely straightforward, and it's not like there can't be automated solutions for pieces of the puzzle. I certainly don't want to sell. I don't want to say that I'm full of hot air with all of this stuff, but it's going to require time. It's going to require money. It's going to require an investment and a deep understanding if you really want to be able to do stuff at scale.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's like, I don't want to, like the enthusiasm and the excitement of people like bringing something and saying like, oh my God, let's do this. I think it should stay. Like we need
Yeah.
to have like those startups, young people coming with ideas, anyone, not per se, I don't want to be ageist, anybody comes with new ideas. That should stay and that should happen. But I just really care for the focus, like carefully choose your priorities. And the new technology is very rarely is just one click of a button, and especially in the business models like fashion where the timelines are very tight and there's a lot of things happening, a lot of like the multitude of seasons through the year. You are dependent on your offshore logistic partners, your manufacturing sites. There's a lot in play. So when you bring in a new technology, like you just like drop it into your operations, it will probably have a chain effect. And even if today you dropped it in, tomorrow it looks okay, with time you will start noticing that actually it creates more like annoyance, friction, difficulties. Probably you cannot pre-plan everything, but just don't give up. Like keep your focus, and even if it gets harder, and even if you think, oh my God, we've burned so much money on this whole 3D, what are we doing? Let's just buy pencils and paper back. I mean, that was cheaper. uh, don't give up. Yes,
Yeah.
the pool is waiting. The pool
Yeah.
is waiting, cocktails are served, everything is there, it's waiting for you. The sun is
Yeah.
shining, but you have to have your house, you have to sleep tonight somewhere. So
That's
keep doing it.
I think that's an excellent way to sum it up. Well, Yuri, thanks so much for joining us today. Thank you all for
Thank
listening
you.
in. We'll be hosting these more regularly, and everyone have a wonderful rest of the week. Thanks.
Yes, thanks Ben, thanks everybody. Have fun everyone.